Hey, Knowledge Noggins, how are ya? Well, welcome back. I'm glad you're back. It's time for episode. Hang on, I gotta take this. Hello?
Hi, how are you? May I have a moment of your time?
Who is this? Is this telemarketer? I'm not interested.
Does your nutsack itch at night? Is it extremely hot in your house?
Well, actually, yes, my sack does itch quite badly, and yeah, it is extremely hot in here. How did you know that?
That's great, sir, because I'm here to help you. All you need to do is place an order online at itchyhotsack.com and we can send you a free sample of Itchy Sack Cream for a month. Then it will be $500 each month after. So what do you say? Are you ready to fix the itch on your sack, sir? Sir?
Did you say $500 a month?
Yes, sir. It is worth it if you have an itchy sack. We will also include a swamp cooler for the hot nights and it will also help your nutsack from smelling like a swamp cooler also. That's why we call them swamp coolers. So your ball bag won't sweat at night and end up smelling like Swamp Thing's asshole. So what do you say, sir? Are you interested?
Hell no. Listen to me. You're interrupting my podcast, okay? That's very inconsiderate.
I apologize, sir. I understand. We can reduce the cost to $450 a month if that helps you out, sir.
Oh, $450 a month? That's way better. Wow, are you serious? I'd rather eat Swamp Thing's asshole. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. Telemarketers call it the worst times. God, anyways, let's get into some of the divine and some divine intervention stories. But honestly, it really is hot in here. I checked the thermostat, 96 degrees in my house. 96 degrees and it's almost 10 o'clock. And you're probably wondering why I don't have a swamp cooler in. Well, I don't have a swamp cooler in because I'm moving soon, and it'd be a waste of time to just put it in there. Anyway, that's what inspired my nice little telemarketer phone call. Either that or I'm having a heat stroke in my brain and my thoughts are all crazy and shit. So, yeah, that's what inspired the nutsack, itching nutsacks. Might be having a heat stroke. I know that phone call wasn't too divine, but that's okay, whatever. I'm your host, Chet Banks, and you are listening to Pick the Mind. Pick the Mind. There are two forces in the universe that are observable and proven to exist, that of the positive and negative. Further, every atom has a proton and neutron. There is light and dark, hot and cold. For everything, there is a positive and negative. These forces rule our lives and thus rule us. We have a positive nature and a negative nature. We can produce love and hate. We are equally capable of beauty and destruction. If we are ever to have the world we all seek, then we must recognize these facts and focus our resources, both industrial and educational, to bring out the very best in each of us, to bring out the divine. Since the earliest times, this nature has been known. However, at every level of our society, we ignore it in favor of the so-called superiority of rational thought, which has been credited with giving us technological advances. Even so, we have to question these advances. And what are they costing us? If we continue to ignore the divine nature in favor of the expedience of the ego nature we can also be, then we will continue to contribute to rampant commercialization, pollution of the oceans, increasing levels of depression and anxiety, and global climate change. To embrace the divine doesn't mean we must embrace religion. It means recognizing these two forces are as much a part of our universe as breathing our air, and just as important. We also ignore that the mind is the home of the ego, and it can only speak and influence us through that medium. Hence, most of our media is negative and focused on disease, war, and crime. Government is also ego-dominated as a system of organizing our society and needs to change to a more cooperative form. Imagine for a moment if one side produced a legislative proposal and the other worked with them on reaching compromise, improving the idea to produce the best result, which is then put before Parliament. The divine does not interfere in day-to-day events as many would like to believe, but it is creative. It is driven to grow and expand, and it is the light in the universe. The other force, the destructive, has been known even before the Hindu religion they called it Shiv, like a prison Shiv, maybe. It is not malevolent. It is doing what it is designed to do. Produce negativity in all of its forms. With an expanded form of consciousness, we can embrace each other. When we embrace the divine, just like a proton, we attract more of the same. We bring ourselves into alignment with one of the most basically evident laws of this universe. What you put out, you get back. Every day you have decisions to make. When we take time to connect with the divine, those decisions become clear. When we do not make time for sitting quietly, meditating, doing yoga, or other spiritual practices, then we will never have clarity on that voice. It is only in right action, right thought, right intent that we align with that divine force. When we are busy, rushed, stressed, angry, we lose sight of what matters and we wander into the delusion of the ego and become lost in its plans. We must be counter-culture and slow rather than speed up to find ourselves and get back in touch with what is ultimately our only journey. The ego is mind-centered and only speaks to us from that place. We must go beyond this dimension into deep meditation to hear what it speaks to us. This has been the path of all spiritual sages, including Jesus, Buddha, and many others. Oh, I love Jesus Christ. He's such a great guy. Reading their journeys correctly leads to one truth. We all have a choice. We are at a unique time now where we are capable of many wonderful things. Some believe we will soon be capable of manufacturing consciousness. That sounds kind of like God's job, doesn't it? It will soon reflect us, and whether we are going to produce a divine one or one aligned with the ego, one choice will always lead to awakening and the other to our destruction. I pray for the former. How about you? The only change we can witness in this world starts with each of us. And especially even if you have an itchy sack. No, I'm sorry. As Buddha has said, by oneself is evil done. By oneself is one defiled. By oneself is evil left undone. By oneself is one made pure. Purity and impurity depend on oneself. No one can purify another. So basically, every choice you make has a consequence. And if you're going to be an asshole, well then stop being an asshole, okay? Alright, knowledge noggins. Having said all of that, let's get into some divine intervention stories. The first story is told by a man named Robert. Oh, hi Robert, how are you? And this is how his divine intervention story goes. Well, there was one time when I had a fender bender in town. Really ticked the guy off that I hit. Still had the sticker in his window. Rather than going and doing what I had planned, I went home instead. Seconds after I got home, my brother and father drove up behind me. My brother went into the house. My father motioned for me to come over to him. Probably the insurance company had called about the fender bender. As I went to him, I noticed an odd, fearful look in his eyes. When I got near, I asked what was wrong, and he mumbled, "Stroke." Naturally, I got him to the hospital as quick as possible while my brother packed him in a bag. It doesn't say packed him in a bag. It says, my brother packed him a bag and followed after. I got Daddy in the house and told my brother what to do. Then my mother called about the wreck. My father was motioning to say nothing to her about him and the stroke, but I had to cut off her fussing at me. Gotta go to the hospital, Mama. Daddy's having a stroke. Bye. Had I not had that fender bender, I would not have been at home in the yard at the moment my father had a stroke. Had I not been there, he would have been alone in the yard. My brother was already inside of the house. And in another incident, thought it didn't happen to me directly, my dead grandmother had twice saved the life of her great-great-grandchildren born to my cousin. First time her baby boy had fallen hard on the sidewalk, cracked head, lots of blood coming out. My cousin is a nurse teacher even. She even looked very bad. She heard my grandmother say, "I can't do this all the time, but it will be all right." My cousin leaned her body, headed the baby up, and all that was there was just a bump and a scratch. The second time, a couple years later, when she had a second child, she had them both in a double stroller and was about to cross the street in a crosswalk. When the signal flashed, she pushed the stroller into the street and started to cross. That instant, she heard my grandmother say in a very urgent tone, "Get those babies onto the sidewalk right now." It scared her, and she jumped back with the stroller onto the curb. A drunk driver ran the light, racing through right where they had been a moment before. All right, well, that was his story. Packed him in a bag. That sounded funny. Anyway, this next story is told by an individual by the name of Don. So I'm not sure if it's a girl or a guy. I don't know. Anyways. There was no way to confirm with certainty that something was divine intervention. Back when I was in first grade and a devout Christian, I was very shy. We were being given a spelling test where the teacher read the words out loud and we wrote them in real time. Unfortunately, I fell behind and the teacher was continuing to read the words. I was so shy that I couldn't ask her to repeat them. All I could do was pray. I asked the Lord to help me. At exactly that moment, the teacher looked down and saw that a child in the first row had also fallen behind. His name was Mickey Mensing. The teacher said in a very cross voice, "Well, Mickey, I see that you've fallen behind. Now the whole class is going to wait while I repeat the words that you missed." She read the words out loud that he had missed. It was exactly the place I had fallen behind as well. I took this opportunity to scribble down the words as she read them for Mickey. That was 70 years ago, and I still remember that. Is that a coincidence? Well, Don, interesting story there, Don. That is cool. That's probably a silly, weird way of divine intervention, but it still could be, yes. God works in mysterious ways. Yeah. Alright, so Knowledge Noggins. This next story is by an anonymous individual, no name associated. This happened years ago, and I still can't explain it in any other way. My partner and I were hounded by a guy from our past who was borderline mad and would follow us around everywhere, even late at night, calling us, threatening us, etc. He was an educated guy, but just seemed too mad at us. We tried talking to him, spoke to his friends, etc., but of no avail. We really had no clue what to do. Once of those days, that's kind of a typo there. Once of those days, I went to a Shiv temple in Mumbai and completely surrendered internally to God and said mentally, "It's all up to you now. All I have is RS-1000 in my pocket, and I am offering all of you that I was offering." What's RS-1000? Please take care and get this guy off of us. He's mad. Miraculously, the next morning, the guy came up to us, apologized for his bad behavior, and said he was very sorry for his behavior. Would never trouble us again, and he left. We have never seen him since then. Oh. Pray to God, people. And you gotta pray from the heart. On to our next story, okay? Knowledge Noggins, calm down, we're getting there. It's freaking hot in here, 96 degrees, and I'm sweating and doing a podcast, and it's fun. Our next story is told by another anonymous man. That was kind of a tongue twister. Anonymous man. Say anonymous man 10 times fast. Anonymous man, anonymous man, anonymous man. Anonymous nan. Anonymous nan. Alright, anyway. There are many instances which can be termed divine intervention in my life. I was a trade unionist and was dismissed due to my trade union activities. My father was working and I was waiting the outcome of my appeal in my court. My mother, who was very kind otherwise, scolded me, saying, "Your old father is working and you are doing nothing." I went straight to masjid. What the hell is that? MASJID. And prayed down prayer and then asked Allah to help me. Allah said, "Don't worry, your problems are over now." I don't think Allah would sound southern, but maybe. The same day I received an appointment from Saudi Arabia with nearly 10 times as much salary and opportunity to perform Hajj and Umrah. It was my last day in Lahore, and I was going to Readings, a big bookstore called Readings. I didn't have much time. I prayed to Allah to help me choose a book which I could enjoy for many months. I prayed to Allah to help me find a book, and I found a book called Range Ghazal, which means color of ghazals, which I read and enjoyed for months as it contains selection of Pakistani poetry since its independence to 1988. My payment for software was delayed and I had no money, so I thought that could be my first starvation. But suddenly, bell rung and a stranger boy, who was our new neighbor, brought food for 5 as an introduction. If that food didn't come at that time, that could become my first starvation. Alhamdulillah, I never starved in my life except by my own choice, like busy in work, or meeting a deadline, etc. I believe that was written by some guy in another country, so it was kind of weird to express to you, Knowledge Noggins. I apologize. So, those were some interesting stories as told by others. So having said that, I will leave you with this. It is only a half-truth that God helps those who help themselves. It is the universal aspect of God that operates through the act of conscious intention. But in areas where you lack awareness, God can personally act to move you in certain directions that you never would have done so because you do not have the consciousness to choose it. God can help you when you can't seem to help yourself. Prayer in the form of expressing your request for help from God produces a different effect from prayer in the form of pure intention. When you make a request to God, you are literally evoking the free will action of being other than yourself. You give that being permission to intervene in your reality according to its will and wisdom. You can get results that you could never have obtained with your own reality creation techniques alone. This is divine intervention, the highest power in the universe. Most people have no idea how much they are missing out when they rely only on the universal aspect of God and not the personal aspect of God. They go about creating their reality purely through intention and manifestation, but they do not realize how much more they could have gotten by requesting for divine intervention. A person can only intend according to the level of awareness he has. Awareness depends on evolution of consciousness. The more evolved a person's consciousness is, the more awareness he has and the more he is able to create the reality he desires through conscious intention. God has the highest amount of awareness and is therefore able to create reality perfectly and more powerfully than anyone else. When you turn to Him to help you in creating the reality you desire, He can do above all you could ever ask or think of. So how about that, guys? Knowledge Noggins. Pretty cool, huh? Cool stuff. Anyway, before I go, this is pretty random, but are you aware of a band called Pussifer? It's a project by the amazing Maynard James Keenan that I've done an episode on before, if you want to check that out. Anyway, he's a singer, Perfect Circle, Tool. Anyways, there's a song by Pussifer called Mama Said, with said being spelled S-E-D. The lyrics are great in that song. It's about life struggles, at least that's how I took it anyway. One of the lines in the song is, "It's just a broken heart, son. This pain will pass away." It's just a broken heart. This pain will pass away. That song resonated in me because, I feel lonely at times and days can be tough for me, but I will take it like a man, which is also a lyric in the song. Take it like a man. And he sings it in a deep tone, which is awesome. So check it out, Knowledge Knockers. Mama Said by Pussifer. So I love ya. Much love and peace out.